Greetings everyone, Dr. Mendes here. I want to take a brief moment to discuss free and appropriate public education, commonly known as FAPE. So what in the world is FAPE? Well, FAPE, free and appropriate public education, is a key principle. It is a pillar of IDEA. And remember, IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, that is that legislative act, that law that governs special education. And FAPE, being a pillar, is a requirement of IDEA. This is to be considered for all students identified receiving special education services, identified as having a disability. This is a legal right. This is non-negotiable. It is not up to the school district whether they're going to offer FAPE or not. This is something that is mandated. It is required. It is part of IDEA. So any student who is receiving special ed service, this needs to be considered. However, FAPE is also a bit vague. And there's a reason for it. It's a team decision when you are determining FAPE for that particular student. So let's take a second to break down FAPE. So first and foremost, it is free. That means that there is no cost to the student, to the parent, to the caregiver, to the guardian. Whatever supports, services that are identified in that IEP, that there is no additional cost. Also, when we hear that term appropriate, this is where we see that it's a bit vague and probably one of the areas that's most argued, because what is determined appropriate, right? Well, that means that any supports, services, accommodations, modifications, they need to be highly individualized. They need to be personalized based on student level, present levels of performance and what the student actually needs based on the characteristics of their disabilities and also their levels of performance. So we need to adapt those services. There really should not be any canned programs or services that we're offering students. We do not fit the student into the services. We alter the services to meet the student and their individualized needs. All services and supports are offered through the public school system. Yes, there are times maybe where supports and services are offered through something like a private therapeutic day school, but still it has to go through that public domain as those services are offered through the public school system. When we hear that term education, what this means is we're looking at an IEP, an individualized education plan, and any student receiving special ed services identified as having a disability, they will have this IEP that really outlines very specifically, very explicitly the supports, the services, the accommodations, the modifications, the placement, the assistive technology, everything that the student should be receiving in their individualized education plan. And once it is finalized, it is a binding legal document, which means that is what the student should be receiving in that school system, and that makes up the free and appropriate public education.